When it comes to personal style, we have the right woman here for those tips. And many women want to land in the middle, meaning you maybe want something classic, but you want it to be current too. Well, in today's Style File, we apply that criteria to haircuts. Studio 5 beauty and style contributor Megan Moore is calling out 4 modern updates to the classic cuts we know and love. And you say this is kind of a trend in 2023, kind of the reimagining.
Yeah, it's definitely like the era of buzzwords. Like we're giving all these beauty trends like catchy phrases. Like think about when we did glazed donuts fingernails, right? It was like a white fingernail, but we had to give it a special name, right? Or glass skincare. Like we're just coming up with all these names. I don't even know who's generating the names. I mean,
TikTok.
I don't exactly. But I do like it because it kind of gets people excited about things that are old and making them new again. So yeah, no different with haircuts. Classic haircuts that have been reimagined. They have new fun names, but they've just been updated as far as styling goes and kind of feeling a little bit more elevated, a little bit more modern.
Okay, and I know a lot of us, like we find a hairstyle that we feel like works for us and we just hang on to it forever.
Yes.
So how do we know when it's time for a little update?
I mean, I think you get to a point where you're like, oh, I've been doing this for a long time, and you kind of know you need to do something. There's probably a little feeling of it, but it's the fear, right? So getting over that fear, I think the easiest way to do it is really do your research and make sure you go into your appointment and know this is the type of hair that I have, and so this kind of cut will look good for me. And you can always ease into it. There's no need to do a major chop, right? But little tweaks can make a big difference.
Okay, I love that. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to name a classic haircut, and then you are going to tell us what that is and update it for us, and then maybe tell us who it would be good for.
Okay,
so the first one I am seeing in a lot of these young girls, and it is the Farrah Fawcett.
Yes, remember the 70s, the Farrah Fawcett, right? It had the big feathered like layers and lots of movement, lots of texture. Well, the reimagined version is called the butterfly cut. So what the butterfly cut is it's the same thing, very similar, but less of the feathering. It's definitely a softer, but you can still see tons of layering that starts all the way at the cheekbones, past the jaw. So for this cut, you need to have a decent amount of hair because we're gonna be removing a lot of it in those layers. And you also need to be a person that's willing to spend some time styling. You're gonna have to put in hot rollers or Velcro rollers to achieve this kind of bouncy blowout look. Otherwise, it's just gonna hang flat. So make sure that if this is a look you're going for, you've got the time for it and you have the density for it.
Yeah, you need some thick hair, right?
You do, yeah.
Okay, and now next is the classic from the 90s. This is my era, the Rachel.
The Rachel. And the Rachel never really, I mean, I guess it did go away and it's back. And I would say the name on this one really hasn't changed. We're calling it the Rachel 2.0.
It will always be the Rachel.
Yeah, it will always be the Rachel. But the difference here is that this Rachel has a lot kind of more relaxed. I would say it's a lived in look. So it almost looks like you slept on it and then still wear the style the next day. Like it doesn't look so perfect. The original Rachel had lots of flip at the ends. The ends were very perfect and kind of flippy and bouncy. In this more updated version, we're letting the ends hang a little bit straighter, but we still have that same shaggy effect, right? It's still really cool girl vibes, but just a little bit with the straighter ends. I think it looks more modern and a little bit more updated. And you can see that it can work on any age. It can be really beautiful. Again, you do need to have a little bit of density, some texture. If you've got wave in your hair, this one's a really great one because you're going to be able to see that texture a little bit better.
Okay, so good to know because I know a lot of hairstylists get frustrated when someone comes in with a picture and you're just like, this is not going to work on your hair, honey.
Yeah. A good hairstylist will coach you through that, right? It does have to make sense for you. And we can always do something similar, but remember, it's never going to look exactly the same.
Okay, the next one is one I love and I dream of doing one day, the Pixie.
Yep, the Pixie. And again, we haven't seen it in the last few years. What we've really transitioned the Pixie to is a cut called the Bixie with a B, which is a combination of a bob and a pixie. So what you're seeing is you still have that short kind of area around the neck. It was very kind of high up to above the neckline there, but we're keeping the length around the ears and we're keeping the length around the face. So it's this kind of nice, perfect marriage between the short pixie but the bob. So a little bit more texture. This one's great for fine hair, especially because you can go a little shorter. It's also really great if you have curls. This can be gorgeous with a curly hair too. So it's really fun, lots of texture, lots of movement, but you still have that kind of sassy shortness of a pixie in the back.
I do love that. Okay, what about the A-line? Is that getting an update?
It is. The A-line is classic and it's not going anywhere, but again, because all of the styles have shifted more relaxed, okay, we've kind of shifted the A-line and we're now seeing more of what we call a chop bob. So a chop bob has a much more parallel perimeter. So instead of that drop from high to low in the back to the front, now everything's kind of staying a little bit more parallel to the ground, and it really has this notable chop, right? You can see that very, very blunt perimeter, and so again, it really lends itself to feeling a little bit cooler, right? She's not as buttoned up, she's not as perfect and sleek, she's got a little bit more texture, and that chop almost looks like, oh, I didn't even really care about this, I just chopped it real quick myself. She didn't, I promise, don't do it yourself, but it kind of gives that kind of cool vibe that updates that kind of more sleek A-line bob.
Are any of these any that you would say if you're of a certain age, stay away?
No, absolutely
you never feel
not.
that way,
I don't feel that way at all. I think if you have the right hair for it, the age doesn't matter. So really think about what's going to be best for your texture and your length and your density. And then after that, if you want to rock it, rock it.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Megan.
You bet.
All right, where can people go for all your style, your makeup, your style? She has the funnest
Yeah,
Instagram.
thanks so much. You can come to my blog, thebeautysnoop.com, and then hang out with me on Instagram @beautysnoop.
Okay, thank you, Megan.